You know, Valve is like one of the only tech companies that I do not hate. And funnily enough, it's also a private company, go figure. So I'm ready to protect the billion-dollar company. Hit the like button and subscribe if you want more content like this now. Steam is like the only entity other than myself that deserves all the glaze. That's right, think about it. Valve made Steam so good that it's better than piracy. Who else can say that? Definitely not the Epic Games Store, because working at Valve seems like a dream for people who actually want to do cool shit. I mean, wouldn't you want to work there? I know I would. Whereas Epic Games is proof that the marketing department isn't being adequately funded at some big companies and corpos. Because every time they're in the news, it's because their CEO, Tim Sweeney, who reminds me of Principal Skinner, is having a meltdown so bad that he's giving Steam probably the best press possible. And just like Principal Skinner, he deserves a good soccer kick to the head. Because Timmy boy over here is mad because Steam must have missed the memo on enshittification. You know what, Tim? I like Valve because their CEO doesn't spend the entire day arguing on Twitter like a thought. Now, he said on Twitter a few days ago, Steam's rules do explicitly prohibit games from steering players to competing purchase methods, forcing everybody to pay 30% to Valve. Apple and Google did not do the same until the court explicitly found their practice to be unlawful. And now, they don't. Not only is this a complete lie, but Valve taking a 30% cut from game developers and the developers only getting 70% may seem unfair on the surface. But the thing is, Steam doesn't prevent these developers or publishers from releasing their games on other platforms. And at the end of the day, it's still profitable for a game company to have their game on Steam and get 100% of the sales at 70% than on a lesser platform at 100%. Because would you rather have your game sell 50,000 units and receive 70% of the money from Steam, or sell 1,000 units of 100%? Of the units coming to you, we all know we would pick the first option. But then again, Mr. Tim Sweeney, Mr. Principal Skinner is like, oh, we're just the little guys. We are the underdogs. See, we're just trying to find our space in the market. But deep down, this guy is just wishing he had the opportunity to be Steam at this point. If Epic ever found themselves with 80% of the market share, you want to know what they do? They would literally upcharge every single consumer for more money. There would be none of those sweet deals Steam gives us. It would be a deal in the opposite direction, with them just screwing us like a common... You know, the more I read this guy's tweets, I actually think he's very, very special, if you catch my drift. Special in the way someone like DSP is special.
Just because I'm one of the most abused people on the internet doesn't mean I don't get to make a factual observation. I can say whatever the I want, and you like it.
Now, the thing is, it just simply comes down to supply and demand. Steam has a supply of tens of millions of active customers ready to spend their hard-earned money on ludicrous sales to invest in their Steam collection. Ready to spend their hard-earned money on these absurd sales to invest in their ecosystem. Turning those gamers into long-term paying customers. That's a good thing, Tim. You want to be providing value, but you have no idea what that is, do you, Tim? Don't think it's because a monopoly is why nobody goes to your platform. You might want to look closer into that. And if you're a developer, you'll go to where the demand is, and the demand right now is Steam, whether you like it or not. And by the way, for good reason, because how many times do people need to be told this? Steam might look like a monopoly, but the only reason it looks like that is because everybody else sucks balls. If you want to end the so-called monopoly, just make a good product. But if you're on the outside trying to compete with Steam, you're pretty much screwed. You want to know why? Because Steam does their basic services very well. And they mostly always side with the consumer, and they just watch their competitors continually shoot themselves in the foot, and the last one is the funniest. Steam just stands there looking menacingly, doing nothing, and they still win with the Lord Gaben strategy. That's Valve strategy 101. Do nothing, win. Do something, win even harder. Because when Lord Gaben speaks, we listen. When he said it's a problem with the servers, he was right. Because that needs to be tattooed on the forehead of Mr. Tim Sweeney. Right next to the word retard. Anyway, the only people that can actually stop Valve at this point is the gamers. The gamers, I tell you, because Valve is so successful because it's run by gamers for gamers. Every other competition like Epic Games Store or Microsoft is only in it for the money. These people don't care about you. Now, under his tweet, he was community noted not only because he's a fraud, but he's also a liar. Because it said district and circuit courts rejected Epic's Sherman Act. Claims on distribution exclusivity, mandatory IAP, and anti-steering. Epic only won on anti-steering based on CA state law. Steam is not a quote walled garden, so the anti-steering theory remedy doesn't map cleanly onto it. So in translation, what Tim is doing is petty fucking two issues. Two completely different issues, making it seem like the same thing, and at the same breath he's like, oh my god, why does nobody like us? Why does nobody like Epic Games Store? And every gamer out there is like, gee, I wonder why. See, the thing is, when you by the way, there's been a lot of voice cracks this video. Anyway, look, when you lie, when you focus on stealing from gamers, ignoring customer complaints, this is what ends up happening. It seems like everybody is against Epic Games, and you crying is inevitable, Tim, because the thing is, there isn't a lack of competition, it's the competition is merely lacking. If you were to take a bird's eye view of everything here, Epic Games Store doesn't even have a quarter of the features that Steam has. And there's no amount of free stuff you could give me, Tim, that would make me use that garbage Epic Games Store. You giving me that stupid free game is like the devil giving me a poison fruit. Because look, take a step back and think about it. It must sting to know that people on Steam would much rather buy a game that you're giving away for free. Ouch. Oof, that's gotta hurt, because the whole Epic Games Store UI looks so garbage, like a mobile game app. And by the way, the fact that the Epic Games launcher takes multiple minutes to start up, even on a higher-end PC, tells you all you need to know about the quality of service. We're talking sewage level quality of service. I can never forgive Epic Games for what they did to Rocket League. If you don't know what they did to Rocket League, here's a quick history lesson. Rocket League was doing very well, and it died the moment Epic bought it. Before Tim and his talentless bums got their hands on that game, Rocket League was huge before Epic bought it. And as soon as they bought it, I've never heard anybody talk about that game ever again. It's gone poof like Kaiser Soze, and not only did they remove it, but they removed most of the crates, they disabled trading, and now the only way to get cosmetics is to buy them when they're available. They got the Midas touch or something, only this time instead of gold, it's absolute dog shit. Because the same thing happened to Fall Guys. It was huge before Epic bought it, and now nobody talks about it. And by the way, Fortnite being big is a nothing burger because it was a total fluke, and they'll never be able to replicate that. Never in a million years they'll be able to catch that lightning in a bottle again. But Epic is a case study on how to kill popular games. I don't understand why any company would want to work with them. They're so incompetent, and this incompetency was apparent when they started doing their awful, just terrible Epic Games exclusive system. Every single Epic exclusive completely died until they went and hit Steam later on. Steam was like Superman dropping down and saving them from their pool of degeneracy. Because Steam is a platform for consumers, and Epic is apparently a platform for developers. And at the end of the day, consumers are the ones who foot the bill, who pay the bill. So you better make sure, Tim, you cater to them. Anyway, look, Valve's lawyers are about to earn their paycheck because Valve is to face a $900 lawsuit. $900, I mean they wish. $900 million lawsuit over unfair Steam prices. Imagine being so pathetic that you actually file this in court. Valve is now have to defend a £656 million lawsuit in the UK after a tribunal ruled that the case against Steam can proceed to a full trial. Oh man, I have to apologize on the behalf of the UK. We've been out of control recently. The decision was made by the Competition Appeal Tribunal, which rejected Valve's attempt to block the claim moving forward. The lawsuit accuses Valve of abusing its dominant position in the PC gaming market through the operation of Steam, leading to unfair prices per the BBC. So let me get this straight. Valve makes a store called Steam, has its own terms, and doesn't force any developer to sell on it. So if they don't like the platform, they can take their game elsewhere, whether that's on Microsoft or the Epic Games Store. They then make the store very good, and it becomes very popular, and it becomes popular very organically, I might add. To the point where the gamers, the consumers, are receiving an overwhelmingly amount of value. And this is all happening where places like Microsoft or Epic can continue creating their stores. There's absolutely zero anti-competitive behavior here, and the companies and the governments are like, no, it's so bad, let's punish it. The thing is, Valve and Steam are like one of the few companies that are actively avoiding destroying their own company with terrible, terrible policies and just making great games that people want to buy. That's not their fault, Skinner. Now, the claim was filed in 2024 by digital rights campaigner Vicky Shotbolt on the behalf of 14 million Steam users in the UK. What do you mean behalf? Who's this we, motherfucker? There is no me and you, Vicky. You don't speak for me. It alleges that Valve uses restrictive contractual terms to control how and where PC games are sold. This is actually insane. Listen, I'm from the UK. As you can tell, I sound like Bricktop from Snatch. And I'm telling you, I think Steam prices are objectively very, very fair. The amount of sales we get over here in the UK is just terrific. We have frequent massive sales going up to like 90%. And easy refunds. What is there not to like, Vicky, you stupid little... What's funny, this idiot named Vicky is actually gonna hurt the UK because Valve might just shut down the service over here. Oh, you guys don't like the fact that we're giving you too many sales? Okay, fine. We're just gonna shut down the service and you're gonna be forced to use the Epic Games Store. No, don't do it, Valve. We, meaning me, the gamers, are not complaining. It's stupid aristocrats like Vicky who are. And the irony is that the UK government is perfectly fine with my constituents being overcharged for energy, water, income tax, council tax. But PC gaming is where they draw the line. Wow, no, listen. The government meddling in businesses, especially something like this, will inevitably make things way worse for the consumer. Anyway, according to the filing, Steam's rules also require players who purchased a base game on a platform to buy all associated downloadable content through Steam. You mean to tell me that you can only purchase the DLC from the seller of the original game so they know where to place the file? Wow, what a surprise. That's not a sign of a monopoly, that's a logistical thing. Anyway, the lawsuit argues that this practice effectively locks the user into Valve's ecosystem and enables the company to charge commissions of up to 30%, costs that are ultimately passed on to the consumers. First of all, this claim isn't even true. You can buy many games that allow you to purchase the DLC from other locations. It takes a bit of time, but it's possible. But secondly, what other storefront? We're talking Sony, PlayStation, Microsoft, Xbox. Which one of those let you use DLC from other platforms on their own service? By the way, Epic Games doesn't even let you do that, or Uplay or Origin. That doesn't happen. And by the way, speaking of the 30% commission, charging 30% is unheard of according to Epic Games. According to this Vicky lady, Sony and Microsoft do the exact same thing. Retailers charge 30% commission. Nobody's ever complained about that before. Here you go. Sony's PlayStation platform typically charges a 30% fee on digital sales for games and in-app purchases made through the PlayStation Store. This standard industry-wide covers the platform services including payment processing, hosting, and access to the development tools. So the 30% cut is like the industry standard. And by the way, you know, Epic brags about having this lower rate, but it hasn't magically made their platform any better. And it's still terrible. So what does that tell you, Tim? I mean, Principal Skinner. But the thing is, when you don't have a good product, you have to resort to tactics like Epic and this Vicky lady is doing. Steam is an excellent product in its own right and one that's actually consumer friendly. That's why people are flocking over there. Anyway, the collective action covers the UK customers who have bought games or add-on content on Steam or any other PC platform since 2018. If successful, the case could result in compensation being made to affected users. Who's being affected here? I don't know. There hasn't been a single person I've come across that's like, oh my god, I can't play my Steam DLCs on Epic Games Store. The action is being supported by the law firm Milberg London LLP. Valve has argued that the case should not be certified to proceed to trial. It shouldn't, but the tribunal ruled that the claims were sufficient enough to move ahead. Valve has been contacted for comment. Look, if Epic wants more market share, they're gonna have to stop crying like this. All they have to do is give us a platform that isn't complete dog water. If you want the consumers to open their wallets, then make make buying a game more convenient? How about speeding up the downloads or having better refund policies? Give us user reviews, and how about a better UI, for God's sake? How about you start there? How about you just get good? The thing is, Principal Skinner, it's going to be hard to beat Steam. You want to know why? They literally have a platform that converts most pirates to consumers. Think about that. How is your pathetic ass going to compete with that? Now, the lawsuit follows earlier scrutiny of Valve's business practices, with a separate consumer case also filed against the company in the United States. Steam, which launched in 2003, remains the largest digital storefront for PC games. Industry from VG Insights estimates that more than 19,000 games were released on the platform in 2025, generating 11.7 billion in revenue, underlining the scale of the market at the center of the legal challenge. Look, at the end of the day, Valve is a privately owned company, meaning it's not on the stock market, and that's why the company is so good. Their private nature is why they haven't sunk to the depths of being a greedy scumbag like Microsoft. They haven't resorted to those practices of the other big players, because they don't have these stupid, annoying investors breathing down their necks to maximize profits at every turn. Now look, at the end of the day, anybody who's serious about playing PC games, use Steam, because it's the best product. And on that bombshell, let me know what you think in the comments. Manix out.